Hello and welcome to Vibrantly Confidence video number 2. This video is all about tapping into your triggers. So I want to start off the video by asking you a couple of important questions. And these questions are related to your upbringing, personal beliefs, your background, life experiences. I want you to really tap into that stuff while I'm asking the questions. You can take some notes on your handout as things come up, or you can be writing in your journal as we're going along. So first off, were you expected to finish everything on your plate? Or else, what would happen if you didn't? Were you not allowed to have dessert? Would you get into trouble? Would you get grounded? Would there be some kind of repercussion for not finishing your dinner, your lunch, your breakfast, whatever it was? Think about that one. Were you competing for food in your family? Maybe you had a large family growing up and there was never enough to go around. So you were competing to get what you could from a meal because you didn't know when the next meal would be, or you didn't know if there'd be any left for you. So think about that one. How about things like, did you hear comments about body size, body shape, weight, looks? Or they may be about you, or they were about someone else you cared about. Did you hear things about food or activities that you chose to do? You ate too much, you're gonna get fat. You're too thin, you need to eat more. That activity is far too masculine for you, or that's too feminine, you shouldn't be doing that, right? All of these comments play a role in how we view ourselves, how we view our body image, and how we view others, right? A lot of it can come from internal, but the internal stuff that we've internalized from the world around us, from the external, we then start putting on others, right? So the snowball continues to roll. And only we can check in with our thoughts and our feelings and know what we really believe, right? Regardless of our past or the experiences we've been through, we have a choice to change how we view things moving forward, right? What we allow to trigger us, how we shut down those triggers and change our beliefs into something different, right? It's like pivoting and changing. Guess what? I'm not going to accept that anymore, right? We get to choose. Our emotions and our personal experiences, right? Our personal triggers are what drive us to do what we do, especially around food, which is going back to that survival guide. There are triggers and they lead us to do certain things because that's what we're used to. Those are the habits that are in place. Those are how we survived, right? And so now we're looking at new ways to care for our bodies in ways that we might not have considered before, not using food, right? So that we actually feel good. And that's the goal here. So again, I mentioned a little bit about my story, and I feel like it's important to share that here and for me to get vulnerable so that you can relate to what I'm talking about, but you can also get vulnerable for yourself, right? To feel like your story is important and it's okay to share. And it might lead you to a better understanding of what you've been through and why you're here where you are right now and why you're even taking this workshop, right? So for me, those few years where I was dealing with anorexia, it wasn't just those 2 years where I kind of given the definition of, yes, I had an eating disorder. There was stuff leading up to that time that I had been doing that I didn't realize. It was definitely disordered eating and not taking care of myself in a really positive way. And there were things even that lingered on years later after that really poignant 2 years of deprivation that still haunt me to this day, right? And sometimes it's really challenging. And one of the biggest things that stands out for me is I love peanut butter. Peanut butter is one of my favorite things. I could put peanut butter on many, many meals, I could make a million things with peanut butter and I'd be okay with that. Well, during those few years where I was struggling the most, peanut butter was off the table. It was fattening. I deprived myself of it because I thought I would gain weight eating it. I thought it was a bad food, right? I had all these judgments. And I made all these stories up to keep myself safe because I was scared. And I was scared of something that was, for one, never going to happen because I'm as active as I am and I take care of myself and I nourish my body well. But I had these false ideas and they were what were keeping me safe, or so I thought, right? And if you can relate to this, maybe there's a story that you can think of now, and maybe this is a time to start journaling on that, or at least jot some notes down that you can journal on when the video is over. Or pause if you're in a moment and you need to go through it. I've shared this stuff before, and it gets really deep, and it brings up a lot of emotion for people, right? I'm not an eating disorder expert, but I've been there and I've overcome it. And I can speak to it in a way to help others take better care of themselves and break through those barriers that they've put around themselves that they think are keeping themselves safe. So hopefully that makes sense for you. I lost the joy of eating that I once had. And as a child, I'm a total foodie. So I loved eating. I loved, going to the grocery store with my mom and picking out fresh foods. I loved choosing the breads, and I loved that whole experience was something that I really enjoyed. But when we, and I say myself here, and maybe you as well, I say we, I lost the pleasure that food brought to my life, right? In those few years, I really lost that. And I've since gained it back. And that's what's really exciting. When you start putting the practices that I'm sharing with you in place, and you start changing your thought patterns and gaining more confidence and improving your self-esteem, the mindset follows, right? And then we start feeling better about ourselves. So that's really what I wanted to share with my story. For me, for many years, I thought being thin meant I'd be more successful. I'd be more liked. People would love me more. I'd be more attractive. And guess what? That stuff doesn't matter. People aren't looking for that. And if they are, it's superficial. And so what we really need at our core is to be ourselves and smile and be optimistic and happy and really embrace those parts of ourselves, not just how we look, right? So anyway, wanted to share that with you. So our self-esteem, our self-confidence, it takes time and consistency with practice to get better at it, right? To get better at it, to embrace it, to improve it. It takes time and practice. So this stuff that I'm sharing might not change for you overnight, but don't give up on it. Just keep plugging away, because you will slowly improve your situation, I promise. So 3 exercises I want to share with you today, things that you can start doing to tap into your triggers, to really look at your life in a different way and say, why am I being triggered by these things? And what can I do to support myself? So the first thing is, I want you to think of somebody. They can be famous. They don't have to be, but famous. Some people are someone that's famous is great as a person that you admire. So somebody that you can think of that you admire. And I want you to write down 5 to 10 qualities about that person that you admire. And the catcher is, I want you to pick somebody that looks similar to you. So for some of you, it might be Oprah Winfrey. Some of you, it might be Jillian Michaels. Some of you, it might be Gabby Bernstein or Marie Forleo or whoever it is. Find somebody that you look up to, admire in your life. Could be your mom, could be an aunt or a friend. Somebody that you look at and go, wow, they reflect me in a lot of ways. They look similar to me. And what do I admire about them? What are the best qualities about that person? And I want you to try that exercise. And then I want you to take that and reflect it back on yourself. So if it's somebody that looks similar to you, the things you admire, and then I want you to look back and say, if I admire those qualities in that person, do I have those same qualities? And can I admire those in myself, right? So that's what we're working on. That's number 1. The second one, this is a really, really fun exercise. I mean, for myself, because I've done this before, and it's a really fun way to help out the greater good and the community, but do something that's important for us, a letting go, a peeling away. I want you to go to your closet, and I want you to find one piece of clothing in your closet or in your drawer that is no longer serving you, that is no longer making you feel good, that is no longer boosting your confidence or your self-esteem, and you really want to let go of it, but you haven't. And some reason you're holding on to it. I don't know what it is, but I want you to find that one item of clothing, and I want you to donate it. You can donate to the Salvation Army, to some charity of your choice, but get rid of it. That's your second exercise. That's going to feel really empowering. You don't need to wear that thing anymore because it doesn't feel good. So get rid of it. Okay. So that's exercise number 2. The third exercise is to do a social media detox. So this might be harder for some than others, but I want you to try your best to pick a time frame. For me and my family, we are shut off social media by about Saturday afternoon, and we don't return to the computer, Facebook, Instagram, any of that until Monday morning when we need to get back on for work. And sometimes we take longer breaks where we'll say no more social media from Friday to Monday, and we just take a break completely for the weekend if we don't have work to do. So I encourage you to do that for yourself. Take 3 to 5 days. Take as many days as you need or you can, unless you're running a business and you need to be there for business reasons, to just shut off and not be connected and seeing, things on social media. Social media is interesting because it causes a lot of comparison. So a lot of people go on and they compare their life to others. They compare what someone's doing to their own. They compare the way someone looks to their own, right? And that can be really challenging, and it can be really frustrating, degrading, depressing, right? There's lots of negatives to social media as much as there are positives. So this exercise is to really pull back and reduce your time spent there. So if you're someone that goes on regularly, let's say 4 hours a day, and for you reducing that down to an hour, and you're going to still go on daily, great. It's a point of reducing the time that you're exposed to social media. That's the goal here. Okay, so you decide what that parameter is for yourself. You can write it down on your handout to kind of have that reminder of this is what I'm going to be doing for this time frame. The other interesting thing that I want to speak to on the whole social media detox is that the worst times to jump on social media are first thing in the morning. Our day starts with comparison, stress, things put on us from others that we wouldn't have otherwise worried about. And also last thing before bed. Those are the two worst times that we can be on social media, not only because of the blue light that affects our sleep patterns, but also our mindset is affected, our subconscious is affected, right? We're drifting off to sleep, stressing over an email from a colleague that we don't really need to read till the next day. We carry that through the night, and then we don't get restful sleep, right? There's all these reasons why we want to avoid social media, especially first thing in the morning, last thing before bed. Okay, so those are your exercises to get working on. Again, we're celebrating the wins. As the time goes by, you're celebrating the small wins. Catch yourself doing something good and reward yourself, right? Give yourself the high five, give yourself the hug, do whatever you need to do to keep yourself positive. Have patience with yourself, and I will see you in video number 3.